I realized a long time ago that I was a wise person because I raised Julie. And some of the things that she picked up on when she was little was she found out very quickly when you have a full bucket of sand and you drop it in front of you, it empties on your face and chest and everything. So she learned that right off, that you shouldn't do anything like that. Now, Jake, on the other hand, has learned some of the wise things.
I've only got one.
Okay.
Never spit against the wind.
That's good.
Now, any words of advice for the next 25 years as we go into retirement? Save your money and do what?
Buy beer.
Buy beer. Okay.
Try to get one of your children to live in Hawaii and invite you over on vacation.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have fun
Do
at the-
stop by again and have fun at the reunion. Your 25th it is? My, aren't we getting up there? Bye.
Everybody should own convertible once, just like a wife.
Now, Keith, what makes you so wise?
What makes me so? I never said I was wise, honey. That's one thing I never bragged about. I did it all before them kids did it. That's what you want to know. They couldn't get away with nothing on me, because I did it all.
Now, who's your favorite daughter?
All three of them. You know they're not going to get me no damn trouble. All three of them.
What was Holly like growing up?
Stubborn as hell. You tell her to go to bed or eat or go to bed. She'd come up missing, and I'd go look for her and she was in bed.
United.
Somewhat obedient, yeah.
She took the oath.
So you got any words for advice for people in their 40s approaching the next 25 years that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. Everybody should be married once. That's your own darn fault.
And after that,
It's your own darn fault.
everything that happens is your own fault.
I was being nice. I use worse language in that, but I kind of...
Okay. Any other bits of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
I don't know what it'd be.
Okay. How about we'll have fun at our reunion? Wish us well at our reunion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right now.
Right now? Oh, what made us so wise is that we raised Debbie. And,
Keep going.
isn't that awful when you get on the screen and can't see it?
What words of advice would you give our class?
When I give your class,
Yes.
the words of advice to your class,
People of our age group.
age group.
Take time to smell the roses.
Okay, that's very good.
Very good.
Yeah,
Live each day to the fullest bottom.
right. And your spouse, treat them as your best friend.
You let them win golf once in a
Let
while.
them win. Yeah. And
Let them win at golf, you said. Okay.
Your spouse.
your spouse. And what else is there to say about? I remember my grandmother always told me, once a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Debbie might remember that.
Oh, okay.
When she was little, I remember one time she was out in the garden and she took this water hose and she watered everything in sight. She watered the garage, she watered the garden gate, she watered everything. And I have that on camera.
Do you really?
She was very intent in what she was doing. And Debbie's always been pretty intent in what she's been doing. She's grown to be a great asset to our family. We love her very much.
Okay.
And what was that you heard at the graduation you wanted to share with us?
It says, don't forget your sunscreen.
And don't forget your sunscreen. Very good. And have fun at the reunion.
Yeah, do have fun at the reunion.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What makes you so wise?
Oh, I am very wise because I helped raise Sharon along with
Me.
I guess the thing we've always known about Sharon is that what belongs to Sharon is Sharon's. Her sister and brother have always said that whatever they had, she played with, and if she had the same thing, she put it away, and she probably still has it.
She does.
She does.
She still has kites that she bought when she was small. Of course, Sharon was adopted.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. But she was
Good time to reveal it.
She was absolutely no problem. Perfect teenager, just like her two siblings.
Well, perfect parents.
Perfect
Do
parents,
that.
yeah, that has a lot to do with it.
Well, the joke on Sharon being adopted, she can probably tell you that is I cannot find her baby book. So she has always said, I'm adopted then. And of course, rooming with her sister upstairs, and her sister told me today that everything on the blackboard was written down that Susie borrowed from Sharon. 25 cents, it was day-by-day interest. And she's Sharon.
Sharon's different.
Sharon's different. They found that,
Tell us how.
How was Sharon different? Independent, yeah. Independent. She always played by herself. Well, not always, but most of the time she could play by herself for hours.
basketball,
But
swim.
all kids are different from one another. They have to be.
Now, what words of advice would you give her going over the next 25 years in
Give
her
Sharon?
life? Yeah, Sharon and everybody in our class.
Don't drink and drive.
Good one. Anything else, Mrs. Lyman?
Invest, save your money,
Keep working.
keep working.
Work hard. So you can support your parents.
That's very good advice. Thank you.
Okay?
Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Have a lovely reunion.
Thank you.
I am a wise person because I am the mother of Brian Fosnaugh. Don't ask me why. That makes me wise, but he is pretty smart. He married the best gal in the class. My advice is what my mother said to me. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. We lived at the lake when Brian and Brett were little guys, and you never opened a can up or anything inside the house because it would either be a toad in there or a snake or something else. And the dryer, you always wanted to check that first too, but he was a great little guy. Love you much, Brian. Have fun at your reunion. Okay?
Two wise people.
We're wise because we raised Sue Ellen Bumstead McCreary. She's our daughter.
She's our daughter. Very proud of Sue. Ever since she was a young teenager, she always wanted to have her own bakery restaurant. And she succeeded in that and done very well.
Had it for 18 years.
Very proud of Sue.
And I can't believe she's been to Africa on 2 safari hunts. She's been to Europe. She's been to China. Let's see, where are they going next month?
Canada.
Sue was our bashful child, and I have trouble going to Florida. And she goes on these trips like nothing, and she hunts. She's fabulous. Sue Ellen is, let's see, you graduated 25 years ago. Sue Ellen was a Millennium 2000 girl 25 years ago, in her mother's opinion.
Which is very accurate.
Yes. She does something. You go on a trip with her and you go.
Sue was a very giving person. Somebody that needs she was always there, just on the silent side. And done things up, people even known about it. So I'm very proud of Sue.
We'd have
All our
terrible
kids
3
from that
years
go.
without her.
We've been very blessed with Sue and both our kids. both our boys.
And
She's had a good mom.
and my dad. And we've been fortunate to live in Newaygo, where I think that the kids you can allow them to do more things in a small town. You get to know people, people care about others, and I think we've been blessed with many things, and good friends, and the kids have brought home good people. And she met so many wonderful people in her shop that she's continued to be friends with.
She don't miss the business, but she misses her customers.
Friends.
Yeah. Friends forever, Sue.
Now, what words of advice would you like to give Sue and the rest of our class for the next 25 years?
Well,
Go class, go.
Go, girl, go to Sue Ellen.
And our classmates.
All
I
right.
think what you're doing is wonderful.
Thank you. And we'll look forward to seeing you at our reunion.
Oh, yeah. Are we invited?
No.
On date. Sure, you can come. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
We're ready.
We're wise parents, Bill, because we raised you. And we don't know how this is going to go. And we've really given serious thought to this and what we should say today. And honestly, we just feel like, because he's got his buddies with him.
Yeah.
And if you need to talk to us, you can always call and come back. But you remember how you used to tease your little sister and tell her that she was adopted? Well, Bill, you know what? You're the one that was adopted, honey. And we just thought about this and thought about this, about how to tell you. You know, we did some research to find out who your parents were. Dad especially.
Yeah, we found out that your mother was really Rosie O'Donnell. And remember that time you came down the sidewalk there in front of the engineering plant and crashed out? And also that time you wiped out on Doc Moore's Gully Hill there. Well, we kind of checked into that too, and we think that your father might be, and we think that he was Evel Knievel.
Gotcha, Bill.
Gotcha.
Advice for the future, don't change a thing, sweetheart. You're just great the way you are. You always leave us laughing.
And how about a hello for all of us in study hall that remember you?
Oh, hello all you kids. I'm sorry I was such a bitch. Please forgive me.
All
I
is
love
well.
you all, and you were all great kids.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. First of all, I'm a wise person because I'm Jeff's mother, and proud to be your mother.
And what's so special about Jeff anyway?
Special about Jeff, it's made us so proud. Boy, I'm telling you. Most valuable player in school, honor society, king of the homecoming. What more can I say?
We forgot all about those. Thank you for reminding
Did you
us.
forget about that,
Mhm.
huh?
And he's still a perfect adult, just a perfect child, perfect adult.
Oh, I'm telling you, he's just done everything right. Married a beautiful lady, 3 beautiful kids, good in business. What more
Never
can I
got into
say?
any trouble when he was little.
Are you kidding? Oh my gosh, you would never want me to tell you about the time he climbed up on the cable here and walked across the room to get into his bedroom, thinking we didn't hear him at night, you know? Yeah.
Now, do you have any advice to give Jeff and the rest of our class?
Well, advice, I don't know, what more can we say? Turning out like a kid like he did, you know, there's not much more. There's not much more. Just enjoy your life, Jeff, and make it very interesting, and just keep on going the way you are. We love you. Okay?
Hi. First, I would like to congratulate the class of 1974 on their 25th anniversary. I am a wise person because I raised Tim Murray, and I would like to tell a few little anecdotes about him, if I may. Kim, do you remember the summer that you and Paul Verberg had your mohawk haircuts? And when you went back to school in September, your teacher, bless her heart, I don't remember who it was, said all she wanted for Christmas was for you to let your hair grow out. I often wonder what she thought about your mother at that time. And then I'd like to recall the time you went to the dentist when you were a small lad, and the attendant asked you when your birthday was, and you said May 12th. And she said, what year? And you said, every year. And we thought that was funny. And I know you don't remember this, but when you were really small, 2 different times you ended up in emergency from falling against the coffee table. And after the second emergency, I made up my mind that either you or the coffee table would have to go. And I'm so glad we kept you. Words of wisdom. Well, you'll understand this one. Never lock a door behind you unless you have a key to unlock it again. Bye-bye.
Good morning. I am Jacques Dumont's mother, and we are very proud of him. He has set out to do what he wanted to do. Even in kindergarten, at the age of 5, he knew that he wanted to be a pilot, which he is today for Rapid Air in Grand Rapids, the chief pilot. He had other interests. He had football and track in school, and one of the little traits that he had that has passed down to his nephew, our grandson, is that when you asked him where he was going, he didn't know. He was getting on a bus and going, which could be confusing, and which is also confusing for my daughter with her son when he was in track or whatever. It was same thing. I don't know. But we did manage to find him. Thank goodness, as a pilot, he does know where he's going now. He has learned. And Jack, we think a great deal of you, love you very much, and are indeed very proud of you, and also of your wife, Linda. And we hope many more happy anniversaries that you may attend at your high school there. Wish both of you all the luck in the world. In fact, all of the kids, we wish all the luck in the world. And that's what all I can think of.
Okay, I'm a wise person. I'm Jim's mother, and he comes from a good family, and he's married. He's got 5 boys and a good wife, and he works very hard for his family. Tries to make a good living. That's all I can tell you.
Was he always a good boy when he was little?
Oh yes, he was a very good boy. All my boys were, but I mean, I better not say that on here.
That's all right. He never got into any trouble, huh,
No,
at school?
no.
Any advice for the next 25 years? Just keep working?
Well, I guess he is. He'll have to. Yep. Unless he retires before that.
Okay. Kathy,
And
who?
I wish I had 8 daughters
Were
just
you
like
ready
Kathy.
for that?
Yeah,
Ah,
that's
okay.
fine.
8 daughters I wish I had.
Yes.
Just like Kathy.
Yes, she
They
certainly
don't come
was a
any better.
good girl, very easy to handle, or very easy to raise. If she was told to be home by 11, she was here at 10 too. Her brothers were have to be home at 11, they came at 12. That was the difference in our daughter and our sons. And Kathy, of course, is a smart girl. And I have some pictures here of her family.
Well, that's
This
good.
is her newest, that's little Colleen. And this, James just graduated from Forest Hills Central. And Lisa Kate is going into the 5th grade. And this was Kathy helping me hang the laundry. And this is her whole family, her 2 older brothers and Mike. And this was one potty training. And, well.
What was she like growing up? Always a sweetheart?
Always.
Sweetheart.
The minimum amount of problems. And she was so willing to work. We had the bar at the time, and she was so willing to work and help us. And she took her schoolwork along and would sit there doing schoolwork and frying hamburgers.
Yeah, she glorified our hamburgers. And it didn't come any bigger. And she used to stand on the beer case and study with one hand and flip the hamburgers over with the other.
And
How
we're
about-
very proud of Kathy.
How about right up to the present? What did you just tell me that she did that was so special?
Well, yesterday we went into Grand Rapids, and she's always got 3-4 things going, never just one. And she had to give a presentation for her work, and then she had to be over to the blood program on Fuller Avenue to do a, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but they take the platelets out of your blood. And she and Nate and her brother, Mike, have the same blood type. So the blood program called Kathy and said there was a child at DeVos Children's Hospital with cancer that needed her blood. She says, "Oh, I'm nursing." They said that they've waived that part of it, and nursing mothers can do this, the thesis. And so Kathy was in there, and that takes 3 to 4 hours. And she was in there doing this for DeVos. And that's the way Kathy still is. If somebody needs her, she'll be there. I'm sure a lot of you girls that graduated with Kathy know her to be that way. Yeah, very proud of her, and she has such a nice family and a wonderful husband, and she just seems happier than anything.
Now, what advice would you give her for the next 25 years, as well as the rest of the people in our class?
Boy, hang in there. Hang in there. You just can't throw it away. Hang in there and just, not every day is perfect. And if you can work it out, hang in there and work it out.
Thank you.
How about you?
I agree with everything.
Okay, say bye, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. We love
Hi,
you.
Kathy. We love you, we'll always love you. And that newest baby of yours, it's got to be in the
You
movie.
should see this,
I've
Colleen.
never seen a baby
She
that
is
act
the
like
most
it.
gorgeous thing. She's full of smiles.
And she's been all over the country, even Washington DC. She was there for about 6 days,
And she
right
was-
across from the Capitol.
And she was in Niagara Falls
Yeah.
last week. Well, Kathy's husband was president last year of the JCs, Grand Rapids. And so for the year following, he's invited to a lot of things. That's how they got to Washington DC and Falls. And Kathy loves it. They have a really good time. He's very good to Kathy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julie said this is about words of wisdom, and I am a wise person because I raised Tom Moore. And I've never been videotaped, it's kind of nervous, but
What was,
Julie's going to talk me through it.
sure, what was Tom like growing up as a wee little lad?
Oh, he was very spirited, I guess is the word you would use. And on Wood Street,
here was really a nice place for kids to grow up. There was the Mallard kids across the street, and of course Steve and Sam Shepherd. And in the summer, they had swimming lessons in the morning and played ball all afternoon. They were always down in the park. It was a really nice place for kids to grow up.
And Tom never got into any trouble? Gave you any hard time when he was growing up?
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure some of you know more stories than I do, but he's a real decent person now, a good father, good provider, graduated from college, even got on the dean's list, which I knew he could do before that, but
any words of wisdom that you would like to pass on to Tom and the rest of our class that will get us in the next 25 years? Take us through the next 2 decades.
well, I don't have very many words of wisdom. I really can't think of much. Time goes so fast, and your kids grow up so fast that you really should enjoy them when you can, if you can.
Very good. That's excellent.
Right.
Okay.
And be consistent with your children. That's about all I can say.
Thank you.
I just thought of another story. When Tom was in the first grade, in the wintertime, I bought him a new pair of boots. And he wore them to school and came home and the toe was all split by the seam. So I took him back to Bob Eddegoff and I said, Bob, Tom wore these boots one day. Are they supposed to do this? He said, well, no, Ann, that's a defective boot. He said, I'll give you a new pair. Now he came back, he said, oh, I'm really sorry, but all I have is red. And I said, well, red's fine. That's okay, Bob. So I went home with the red boots, and Tom thought they were nice until he went to school. Came home from school, he said, Mom, I've got girls' boots. They said I've got girls' boots. I said, no, Tom, red is any color. Boys can wear red. Well, that evening the phone rang, and it was Mrs. King. And she said, do you happen to have Star's boots? Because Star came home with boots that have Tom Moore's name in them. And I went downstairs, and sure enough, Tom had Star King's boots. After that, I said, well, you're right, Tom. You'll never have to wear those red boots again. Okay.
Picture of my family taken, a couple years ago.
And Tom's right in the middle
And Tom's
there.
right in the middle, yep.
And this is his senior picture up here. I remember that.
And I had all of the senior pictures with mine in the middle all put together. And Tom's senior picture is really an accident. I am surprised I have it. On the way home from school, he threw the proofs away. And later, must have been that day or I don't know, the next day, I can't remember who brought them, but someone that knew me and knew Tom brought the proofs to me. But he had thrown them away on the way home. So it's really lucky. I'm really lucky that I have his senior pictures.
Why did he throw them away?
He didn't like them. Didn't think they were good.
And they're fine.
Yes.
Look at that good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed a bit.
No.
Okay. Thanks, Ann.
Yeah, okay.
I really don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Well, what makes you so wise? You're a wise person because you raised who?
Michael Lance.
Michael Lance. Okay. And what kind of boy was he growing up?
Older sister in college, one in high school. And we were very busy. We lived on Silver Lake. And the only way he got any attention was to get into mischief and be bad. And he was a very mischievous little boy. And he kept us, that's the way he got his attention. And he probably was the noisiest, most boisterous little boy of my whole family when he was little. And then when he got older, he was really, really quiet and very well-mannered, and just the opposite. He's the quietest of all of my kids, so that goes, shows to go, yeah.
And he was a good student in school?
mediocre, I guess.
Mediocre? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And probably, oh yeah, he was in sports. Real good in baseball, basketball, football, and golf especially.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the most thrilling day in my life was when he was the state champion. I rode with Stan and Bonnie Thomas down to, and he got the state champion that day in golf, in the Class C schools for the state. And his father, see, Mike had it a little different than all the rest of the family because his father was quite ill when he was in high school, couldn't go to a lot of his activities, his sports things, so.
But you were there and you
Yeah,
witnessed it.
I was there and I went to different ones for the night ball games and stuff. So, but
I think I
I've
remember
been very proud of Mike.
that year he got that state championship is in the yearbook. I do believe he has a
Probably
page, a
is.
picture of it in there. Yeah, that was great. Now, do you have any advice for Mike and the rest of our class that would take us into the next 25 years?
Don, help me there. I don't know. I just feel sorry for the oncoming generation, the way it is now. You know, it's so different. And just keep the faith, I guess. Hang in there and keep your faith. Because I think we have some rough times ahead. And,
Thank you. We'll remember that.
yeah.
Thank you.
So I don't know what else to say about him. I really don't. He's been very, you know, he has a lovely home now, he and Jen, and they're, he's a real good cook, by the way. And he grilled steaks and fixed a nice meal for some Dr. Twining and the golfing buddies, his brother from Lake Fenton. And then he invited Joe and Joe's son-in-law, and he's just a real good cook. And he likes to do it.
Okay. Very good. All right.
And of course, Mother came and broke up the party at 9 o'clock that night that he did all that. And then they blamed me because they had a bad golf day that day. Yeah, because they had golfed real good for their practice day. And then they golfed terrible the next day, not too good. And so they blamed Mother.
Oh, that was Mom's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we thank you.
Okay. It's been nice.
Okay.
I'm a wise person because I raised Clint Abbott. When Clint was born, his dad and I were very happy to have a little boy. We had a little girl, and we wanted both, and so we were real happy now that we had a boy and a girl. And later we had another little girl, but anyhow, Clint was a good little boy when he was little. He was always very gentle and very well behaved, actually. This is under school age, you know. And in fact, his dad used to refer to him as his golden boy because he was so good. But then he started school, and as he got a little older and into school, he became just the usual mischievous little boy like all little boys. And he did. He wasn't quite as sweet as he was when he was smaller. One of the things that he liked to do, he was very inquisitive, and so he was often kind of snoop around through his dad's important papers, and because he was just curious about things, and had a big interest in reading and so on, and finding out things. And so, of course, needless to say, he often got in trouble with his father for this, which he was adequately punished. One thing he particularly liked to do is he liked to read through the newspapers, and he would look up the ads, and meanwhile he had learned to use a typewriter. And so when he was, I don't know, just, he wasn't too old yet, he looked through the ads in the paper, and he found an ad about a man wanting to sell some property in Florida. So he typed out a letter inquiring about this and sent it out. we didn't know anything about it. About 2 weeks later, we got a phone call. And I answered the phone, and a man, very business-type voice, said, could I speak to Clint Abbott, please? I was really baffled, and so Clint was there. I handed him the phone, and he went to the phone, and the man started inquiring, I received your letter, inquiring about the property, and I wanted to give you a call and see if you were still interested in buying it. And Clint says, well, we heard him say, I don't know, I'd have to get a job first, I'm only 12. And click. And so this was the kind of things that he was prone to do. Another time he, unbeknown to us, he ordered through some magazine or catalog or something, all this, exercise equipment that men use and older boys use, with the barbells and so on. And we didn't know anything about it. And it was a trial thing, try it now, and if you like it, you can pay later. And one day a large truck pulled up in front, and luckily my husband was there, and these men got out and they started carrying this big heavy equipment in the house. And we said, wait, what is this? Well, this was ordered, and so on. And well, we found out Clint had ordered it, so we had to tell him to take it back. So he was pretty good at those kind of things. Clint loved basketball. He loved to play basketball. He loved to watch it on TV, and that's all we heard around our house. Between that and the music, of course, he always liked to sing, and we heard a lot of that too. And then in high school, as he got older, he met Michelle, and so they fell in love, and they got married at a very young age, 16 and 18, and everybody. They just really wondered, could this possibly last? These kids were so young, and there was so much against them, But Clint was a Christian, accepted the Lord when he was 13, and later I witnessed to Michelle, and she come to know the Lord too, even before her and Clint were married. And they started attending Grace Bible Church in Nuevo, and as Clint became more and more active. He helped with the song leading, and he started teaching, and just many things that he did, and he grew much closer to the Lord, and Michelle did too. And I really feel, as I know they feel, this has really helped keep their marriage together. Meanwhile, Clint had dropped out of school when he and Michelle got married, but then he went and got his GED test. Yep. Completed that and got his diploma, and then he went to college for a couple years and worked a short time at Gerber with computers, and decided to go back to college in Big Rapids, which he did, and took 2 more years at college because he wanted to teach. So he then became a teacher, and needless to say, during these years he also kept, he was more than active in the work of the church and became more and more interested. And Holly, my daughter, used to say, Mom, that's all Clint talks about. And so we were not surprised when Clint told us that he felt that he was led into the ministry. And so he now had a family of 3 boys. And so besides holding down a steady job, he did his schooling, his Bible college on the side, and he got through 5 years of Bible college. And then later he was licensed, and after that, a while he was ordained, and now he's the pastor of Christ Celebration Church in Kent City. And this is a church that he himself started from scratch, and it's doing well. And so I'm just so very proud of Clint and Michelle and for the work they've done, the work they're doing for the Lord at their church there.
Now, is there any words of advice to carry Clint and the rest of our class into the next 25 years?
Well, I've thought a lot about this as a word of advice to Clint or any others. I just want to say, Clint, just keep on doing what you're doing, putting the Lord first in your life, and that is the very most important thing you can do. And secondary, to this, always remember to be a good husband and a good father. And stay close to your family. And I believe that children and grandchildren are a gift from God.
You're so wise.
What makes me so wise? The way I was raised by my mother and grandmother. Oh, and I raised 5 kids.
And one of them was who?
Sam Shepherd.
Was
he was the last one, so he got the brunt of it all.
What was Sam like growing up? What kind of little boy was he?
He was very kind, very cheerful, good company, and he was not a complainer. Very cooperative.
And as he grew into adulthood, what kind of man did he become? Can you see him?
He was cheerful, close to the vest, silent, and constructive.
Does he work pretty hard these days?
Yes, he does. He's got 2 jobs. Yeah, he does. He has 2 jobs. 2 jobs. He sells real estate and he works for the railroad.
Now, would you have any special stories about Sam growing up that you'd like to share with us?
I guess the only ones I can tell are his association with his sisters. His brothers, he handled it. But he was kind to his sister. 3 rules and 1 promise. Be kind to your brothers and sisters. Be kind to your brothers and sisters. And he was told to be kind to your brothers and sisters, and that will teach you to be kind to your friends. And do your work before you play. That's a big one. Do your work before you play. And do your jobs and your work before you play. Oh, I had lists, 5 lists for each kid. And I would check them off as they were done. With a smile.
Who was smiling? You or the kids with
I was smiling. Not mad, but these are things you guys must do.
That's right. Now, Suzanne, you shared a story with me earlier about Sam. Why don't you tell that again?
Well, Sam was about 3 or 4 years old, and he was just learning vocabulary and language. He was up the street, and he was at Moose Miller's house, and he picked up his puppy, Moose's puppy, and he dropped it. And Moose came running out of the house and said, "What happened?" And Sam said, "I dropped him on purpose." He said, "You what?" He said, "I dropped him on purpose." And so Moose whacked him or did something, sent him home. And Sam came in to my mother crying, and he said, "Oh." And my mother said, "What happened?" He said, "I picked up the puppy and I dropped him on purpose." My mother said, "You mean by accident?" He said, "Yeah, by accident." So Sam learned that word.
Didn't know the difference of those 2 words.
No, they're pretty big words. You just got to twist it around.
Yeah. Now, what words of advice would you have to give us, Bea, for the next 25 years to Sam and to the rest of our class? Do you have any words of advice?
Do not.
Well, when he was real young.
Be daunted by events around you. Stick to your goal. Be kind. And be honest.
Thank you very much.
We're wise people because we raised David Carr.
And what kind of boy was David growing up?
He was a joy to us. He got in, he was a typical boy, but he was a joy to us. He always, a lot of fun to be around.
Get into any mischief, did he?
Well, I remember one Christmas, he and his brother Dick decided to go for a ride in his nephew's little plastic pedal car that he'd just gotten for Christmas down about a 150-foot bank that we had.
And of course, luckily they didn't end up in the river, but they did tear up the car and run into a tree. He never had much luck with cars.
Okay. Now, any words of advice that you'd like to give David to take him into the next 25 years, as well as the rest of our class?
Well, I guess the words of advice I'd like to give Dave is just continue to do the best you can and be the best you know how at what you do. He's always says he's good at what he does, and I have to agree with that. Whatever he tries, gives it his best.
And you agree completely with that?
I agree completely.
You gotta tell me.
Did you comb your hair yet?
No.
Well, let me see.
Are we ready?
Yeah. Right.
Well, let me see.
Comb.
You tell me when we're ready to go.
We're ready.
Then I just go into a dialogue?
Yes.
She's already going, George.
No, she isn't.
Comb your hair. Yes, she is.
Okay, Julie. Now here we are. I'm going to pull my hair for Mary. And Mary, I remember.
Mary who?
Mary Slominski. Now Mary Hance.
Right.
She came home one night from a basketball game, she said, but when she drove the car in the garage, there was something that happened to you, Mary. And I was sitting in the garage waiting for you to come home, and it was late at night, remember? And when you came home, you know what happened? I jumped out and said, Mary, where have you been? And what did you do, Mary? You wet your pants.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Mary was a good kid growing up, though, right?
Mary was a very good kid growing up. And, you know, she had certain study hall teachers, and my sister happened to be one of them. So, dear Mary, I'm sorry that you had my sister for a study hall teacher, but I asked her to check up on you, so she did what I asked, and I love her for it.
Yep, very good. Now, any words of advice that you can leave Mary and the rest of our class, being that she's not even going to be at our reunion?
But mostly, I would like to say, I thank my daughter Mary for being there whenever I need her. She is there. She's there for George and she's there for me, and we love her desperately.
Very good. All right. Any other thing you'd like to add?
Just flip it over.
They've got an audience here.
We were there
do you
when
want us
when Normie brought home Mary, and one of these days we will show you the home movies of Mary in a Little Arm.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay. I remember when Norm and George lived next door to us, and Mary was just probably about 3 years old. Norm and George were gone, and Mary stuck her finger into a pop can and couldn't release it. It was cutting her finger, and so they ran over to our house and said, Aunt Jerry, come help us because Mary Beth has got her finger caught in the can. And we went over and unscrewed the can, or cut it off, and released Mary's finger from the can. But she was a doll the whole time.
Didn't even cry, probably.
No,
Okay.
she was just great.
Okay. All right. Well,
we love her desperately.
Thank you.
I'm a wise person. I raised Rose
And what was Rose like growing up?
Well, at what time of her life?
When she was a young little girl.
Just a little bitty girl. Okay. We called her Rosemary, and she used to call herself Riri. And she'd get into mischief, and I would tell her, Rose, don't do that. Rosemary, don't do that. And then it got to the point where I went, where is that little girl? And I'd say, where's Rosemary? She'd answer back, do and don't.
Now, tell me about how she used to play school.
Oh, she liked school pretty good. She had to go down there to the corner for the bus, of course.
But when
She was the older of 5 children, and she liked to play school with her younger siblings. She'd get them all lined up and have books hanging all over the place. And she was their teacher.
And now she works in a school.
That's for sure. Yeah, she works next.
See, she was modeling her life early. Now, I'm sure you're very proud of Rose.
Yes, I'm proud of her. She's done well, I think.
Yeah.
She came from a poor family, and she's done well for herself.
Yeah.
She managed to get her education. She worked, what they call work study, and worked in the fast food places. Did anything to earn some money.
Mm-hmm.
See, she started out down in Grand Rapids at Grand Rapids Junior College, as they called it in them days. She went to Western. After Western, she was down in Ann Arbor. Finished her education down there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been working up north ever since.
Now, are there any words of advice that you could give Rose and the rest of our class for the next 25 years in our lives?
The times are changing. It's hard to say what to tell her. Be honest, work hard, do your best.
Very good words. Very good. Thank you.